Ready? Yeah. That was a really good win. Proud of the fellas. They showed a lot of grit, especially coming down the stretch. It was about 7 minutes to go. I think it was. We were down by 4, and we came in the huddle, and we finally settled in offensively, and we were able to make shots. But I was just really proud of them. I've been saying, I feel like I say something like this once I come up to this podium every game, is we couldn't have won games like this last year. And so the way I look at everything that's happening, I think sometimes people get bent out of shape by when you play teams, you don't beat them by how many points they want you to win by or different things of that nature. But I've been saying we went to Duke and we lost by 6. We come back and it was kind of like a grimy game, you know what I mean? But we've been playing close games, so we're seasoned in these games. It doesn't matter who you play, you're seasoned in them, and I think that's what you're seeing. You didn't see no panic with our guys coming down the stretch. And, Kawasi, he made huge plays. I thought Lamar made huge plays. They did a really good job, and we went back small, and I thought Jaden and Akai defensively were really good down the stretch. And, can't say enough about Cole. Cole gets, he's happy for him because, one, I think everybody got a chance to see him play extended minutes, and now you see what he does when nobody's looking. He does a good job. He works, and he's going to be a really good player. The only thing the reality of it is, the only thing that holds him back right now is strength. It's just there's moments where he might, get a little overpowered or not, but that was a heck of a dunk he had, and that ignited us, ignited the crowd, and proud of him and happy for him. So it was a good team effort this afternoon.
Pretty obvious, the defense you guys were playing. Then you look at the box score, 26.5%. But did you feel like your team played as physical a defense as they played this year?
You know what? Sometimes you can't tell sitting from the sideline, but I knew we were playing great D. But the game felt like a lot of games this year. It's like, man, we just got to get going offensively. If we get going offensively, then we'll be fine. And so, BC is a different type team, and I watched BC, and I told our guy I was actually disappointed, the last 3 minutes of the first half, because I told BC, they've played a lot of games where I call it just they rock you to sleep. You know what I mean? Like you'll feel like you in control of the game, and then all of a sudden you lose a rhythm offensively, and then they start scoring some buckets, and they hit a bank shot 3, and you just have all kind of things start happening. That's when the game turned. The momentum of the game, it shifted, and we couldn't find it back offensively. Defensively we were still doing a good job. So. To me, it felt the same, and I'm with you. When I looked at the numbers, I was like, a team I coached, I don't think I've ever had a team, hold an opponent to 27 from the field, 13 from the 3. That was it was amazing defense. It was a collective effort. It was physical. Like I said, we played small, down the stretch of the game. So, no, it was a good team effort. But yeah, I do. From a physicality standpoint, it was great to see.
You mentioned Cole's dunk there in the second half. How much do you feel like that energized the crowd? It seemed like the crowd kind of took it to the next level, got loud, and how much did that carry y'all down the stretch? Gave y'all more energy?
Well, it ignited us now, and sometimes when Cole come in the game now, he's a crowd favorite. You can kind of tell, but he's he does a lot of great things out there, and he gave a little fake DHO, and he went down there and dunked, and it definitely got us going. Then I think Wasey came back and got a layup, and then he came back, got ammo. But yeah, it ignited us. It was great to see, and it's always great, to see especially a young fella like him have a defining moment, and I think that's something that can carry him for rest of this season.
Do you have an update on Mo, timetable of when he might be back?
It's a sprained ankle, and we're shooting for Miami, Miami, so he's gonna get X-rays, make sure everything clean, the usual per usual, and we'll get him back. Like I say, we're shooting for Miami. Yeah.
I know the game just ended, Coach, but just any update on Peyton? Looked like he went down that second half, kind of grasping at his knee. Just any update on Peyton Marshall?
Yeah, we'll know more. We'll know more about him, probably this evening. But it was just the guy came down on his knee, hyperextension. It's kind of the norm of it. But I think he'll be fine, and we'll wait and just make sure everything is, cool with the bill of health, and then just kind of go from there.
It seemed like Wasey carried you guys for a little while in the first half and some in the second half, and then Lamar down the stretch was big. How good is it to have those two veteran guards that can step up and make plays in close games like this, kind of change momentum?
It's really big. I think Wasey set out most of the first half. Didn't want him to get his third foul, and I told him in the locker room, we need him the most. He was there, what I mean? And I think that's the growth of this game, and the maturity that we see, the leadership that he gives us every day. Just proud of him to see his growth. And then Lamar, it's just, he just tough as they come, man. And I say it again because, y'all like that football. People forget, man, he played linebacker. Like, honestly, probably would have been at U of O had he stuck with football. He just didn't like football like that, but tough as nail, going up in there getting rebounds, made big shots, make big plays. And, it don't, a lot of times I always laugh because it don't look perfect, but it's effective, and that's the only thing that matters.
Jaden goes out with his fourth foul, and everybody's probably thinking, well, he's not going to be a factor the rest of the game. But to his credit, he really came in and got a lot of big rebounds. And, he struggled earlier with his foul shooting, but he made his foul shoots down the stretch too. So I imagine he was a big factor in what you got from your guys.
The thing about Jaden I give him credit on is he's really embraced coming off the bench. And I think that, sometimes we look at that as it could be a demotion or whatnot, but the reality of it is he still played the same amount of minutes. His minutes haven't went down. And I think that, it gives him more opportunities to attack the rim, when he comes in. And some of the things that I actually envision with our small ball unit, he's been able to do. You could put him on a 4 and he can guard 4s, especially pick and pop guys. But he did a great job. Got 5 big rebounds. Made his free throws, and so I'm proud. I'm proud of him, because, a lot of times a lot of guys would pout or do different things, but he hasn't, man. He's consistent. He works, and I think that's the biggest thing. He's consistent. He comes to work, and he clocks in each and every day.
Kind of a two-part question, Coach. Just what was your message to your team? You guys played really well up there at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Close loss, but you guys came in, played really well tonight. What was your message to the team, coming into this game? And then, two, were you satisfied with just the rebounding of your guards? Mustaf had 5, Kai had 5, 12 for Lamar. Were you satisfied with how your guards rebounded the basketball?
Well, the messaging is that, we went to Duke and we played well, but we lost, so it doesn't do us any good to be happy with a moral victory if we don't come back, against BC, a home game, and take care of business. And, we need to understand every game for us needs to be our Duke. We don't have the same wiggle room. We don't have the same margin of error on a lot of things. So that was just my messaging. How are we going to respond? Are we going to keep building? It wasn't really even about the Duke game. It's just about we felt we got better in some things, and we got to keep getting better. And then with the guard rebounding, I was extremely satisfied, because I've been on them a lot. And, collectively as a group, they had, 22, 25, 27, 28 rebounds, so, Lamar, Jaden, they did a really good job. Again, I'm really proud of Jaden. He's been sticking his nose up, and they got some big rebounds against Duke as well. So, just really proud of him and his growth.
Back to Cole for a second. His instincts seem pretty darn good, and he probably, when in high school and so on, probably wasn't on the boy. This guy's he's going to be a quote stud at center. Did you notice that when you were looking at him and as far as offering him scholarship, et cetera? What did you see that maybe other people might have overlooked?
Well, I just came from Boston, so he reminded me of Luke Cornett. And so that was the whole thing. That's the reason I took him. Because I thought I could teach him everything that we talked about. I could teach him how to play out of corners. He was good in the short roll. I seen that. The only thing he needed was strength. You know what I mean? And so when you put him with good guards and people that can make him better, he would be even better. And so that was my projection for him. With Cole, it's been a process. He went to Brewster, and then we reclassified him. He went to OTE, and then he came here. So it's been a whole build up to where we at. And so he's bought into the process. His family's bought into the process. And so it's just been a beautiful thing to see. That's what I seen. But, Cornett, that's exactly. Had I not been in Boston, I can't say that I felt the same way, because I just don't think people, you got to have a vision. You got to know what you want to do with them. And I think that, we had that here, and I think that's why he'll be successful.
You had 23 fast break points, really pushed the ball a lot, but more importantly, did that help you guys? Do you feel like you got a lot of calls going to the basket more than you normally do, and getting to the foul line?
Well, we got some payback. 29 free throws tonight. They doubled it from the last game, so I'll take it. We gotta. I would like to see us make some more, but yeah, I did. I thought we attacked the bucket. I thought all our guys attacked the bucket really well. It's a lot of this stuff is when I'm watching, I'm seeing again just the growth of the team, but some of the individuals. They won't settle for as many jumpers, and we shoot the ball well from three. We didn't shoot it well from three tonight, but in the past, you guys, as when jumpers wasn't falling, we just kept shooting jumpers. We didn't have nobody that can go get a foul. And then you look at guys like Wasey. You look at Lamar. And then as Mustaf had 7 tonight, but you look at Kai. He gets to the rim and gets fouled as much as any freshman I ever seen. So, we got a group of guys that can get to the line, and then we got to get by. He got to knock down a couple more free throws. But no, we did a good job, I thought, of attacking the rim.
All right. Perfect. Appreciate
All right.
it, Coach.
All right.